Tonight on Another Thing About Tartan, I am so pleased to welcome Chief of Clan MacAulay, Joan McCauley, who's joining us this evening virtually from Canada. I first met Joan back in 2019 when we headed out to Canada and did a tour of Highland Games. And just before we headed out to Canada, we sent a Canadian tartan head, who I have here with me this evening. So we made him up in the National Maple Leaf Tartan, sent him out to Canada, and he first went to Victoria Highland Games, where Joan thankfully organised a trip so that Ted could pass between different societies, pipe bands, and Highland Games, so that he could then come and meet us at Fergus Scottish Festival at the end of our trip, where we then brought Ted back home to Scotland. So, like I say, I'm so pleased to welcome Joan this evening.
Join you today and this evening in Scotland. And I have to say, I really miss Ted. He became a big part of our lives. So we enjoyed, a lot of people had a lot of fun with him. He went right from Victoria, British Columbia to Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. So
I know, it was a fantastic trip for him, and he had a journal that he kept. So we heard all about his trip, and we'll bring up a photo on screen shortly, which is you, myself, Joan, with Ted and Steve Logan from Clan Logan, all at Fergus Scottish Festival. So hopefully next year we can recreate that photo and get myself and Ted back out to visit you.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. We'd love to have him back. He even went on a food tour with us in Victoria, so he got to see a lot of sights.
Oh, that's great. Well, he gathered a lot of badges along the way, so I don't know if anyone can see. So we've got some from various Highland Games societies, flying crests here, so there we go. He'll be out to see you soon, Joan.
And he's wearing his Saskatchewan Rough Riders little hoodie, or bunny hug as we call them in Saskatchewan. So
there you go. Perfect. So, Joan, where in Canada are you joining us from today then?
From Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So we're in Western Canada. And I've, except for a couple of years in Alberta, I've always lived in Saskatchewan. But I've been fortunate to be able to, with the exception of our Northern Territories, I've been able to travel and visit in each of our 10 provinces. It's a beautiful, amazing country.
Yeah, quite a country, a vast country to have to visit all of those provinces. So, have you celebrated your Scottish roots from a young age then, Joan?
I think it's always been a part of our identity. My great-great-grandfather, Angus Ian, emigrated or was emigrated, we don't really know for sure, in the 1850s. I think it was around 1855, 1854, somewhere in there. And then my grandfather was part of the Western expansion. He came out in 1908 to Saskatchewan, and there were a bunch of other people from where they settled in Quebec. Then a lot of them moved west and in that area. So there's a lot of names and everything that is very familiar for us when we go to visit the Isle of Lewis. There's a lot of names that are very similar. So.
Oh, that's great. And do you think your Scottish heritage has shaped your worldview at all?
I think it has in a lot of ways. Probably not so much when I was younger, but as I've grown older and have learned more about the clearances and also what's happening in Canada with our Truth and Reconciliation with respect to our treatment of our Indigenous peoples, it really does a lot of the time, to me, in my view, mirror what happened to our Indigenous people is what happened to the people in the Hebrides during the clearances. And even afterwards, children going to school and being forced to only speak English when they'd only spoke Gaelic at home. And, much of the same thing happened to our Indigenous peoples, only worse. Their children were ripped away from them, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it has impacted how I view things. just because of the history of Scotland and the history of people coming to Canada and the colonization, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's shaped my views, but.
Yeah. And so what does it mean to you to be a member of Clan MacAulay then?
Well, it means a lot of fun. We have probably the biggest thing when I think of being a member of Clan MacAulay is the friendships. I mean, I have friendships now with people that I never in a million years would have met if it weren't for the clan and being involved in it, and just the friendships that we have built like right across Canada with people, whether it's Highland Games, et cetera, you build those friendships, and they become an important part of your life.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's fantastic. And how did you first get involved with the society?
Well, I was visiting my husband. He was working in Montreal at the time, and this would have been probably 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. And I was actually doing research for a tattoo, and not the Edinburgh Royal Military tattoo, but a tattoo that is now on my leg. And I happened across the Clan MacAulay website, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I was poking around on there, and I was like, oh, they're having a gathering in Scotland next year. And from the time I was little, I always wanted to go to Scotland, but it didn't happen until 2013. So I looked at Doug and I said, they're having a gathering next year. Can we go? And he's like, of course. And so we went, and we haven't missed a gathering since. We absolutely, I guess sort of our first introduction the first gathering we went to was in Crieff. And there was a gentleman. We were kind of wandering around outside kind of aimlessly, not knowing what are we supposed to be doing. And this lovely gentleman from Northern Ireland, unfortunately he's passed, Ross McCauley, dignified, fun, amazing man. And he saw that we were wearing our Clan MacAulay name badges. And he's like, you've got to come in and meet other people. So we went in and we met like Lawrence and Karen and Betty and Katrina and, everybody. And we were just made to feel welcome. So it was a really great experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad you got to meet so many fellow members so soon. So.
But there was a bit of a downside, though. When I got back to Canada after having been to the first gathering, a gentleman by the name of Bud McCauley Lush, he is the now honorary High Chieftain Commissioner of Canada. At that time, he was the High Commissioner, etc. Anyway, he was coming to Saskatoon, so we arranged to meet for supper. And by the end of supper, he had convinced me that I should allow my name to be put forward as Commissioner for Western Canada. And so then started the whole experience of going to Highland Games, etc. So, yeah. And then eventually, I guess it was in 2017, our chief asked me to become secretary. And so I was secretary for 2 years, as well as being commissioner for Western Canada.
Yeah, and then you went on to become chief of the society. Was that in 2019? Am I correct?
That was in 2019. Our retiring chief, he's now Chief Emeritus, Hector, he was retiring, and so I was encouraged by multiple members to put my name forward. We're based in democracy, not aristocracy. Clan MacAulay is actually a combination of a bunch of different MacAulay clans. So we have there's MacAulays from Ardenkapel and MacAulays from County Antrim in Northern Ireland and Ullapool and Lochbroom, and then of course all the Hebridean Islands. There's probably a good 10 to 20 different MacAulay families just in the Hebrides. So they were all combined by our first chief of the modern era, Chief Ian. He had this dream of bringing all of the clans together, and one of our taglines, so to speak, is bringing our people together. So it doesn't matter if you're which branch of the MacAulays you happen to be a part of. You're welcome and encouraged to be a part of the Clan MacAulay Association. So we have members all over.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so, what does the role of chief entail then?
A lot of it is work. No, it's we have an amazing executive committee. And so it's sort of like if you were CEO of a company, you depend on the people and you bring in the right people into the right roles, and then they, take it and run. We have, I think of people like Christiane, who has been on the executive committee for many years. She's actually retiring at the next annual general meeting, but she's taking on a new role. She's going to be ambassador for the United Kingdom. We now have ambassador roles. We have one for New Zealand, one for Australia, and then we have a roving one for North America, as well as our commissioners. But, there's just so much talent and so much willingness to put themselves forward, and really they're the ones who really make the Clan Association really run. We've been trying to modernize things a little bit, make things a little bit more efficient. So, with one of the things, as bad as COVID has been and continues to be, one of the bright spots was the fact that it forced us to rethink. We were supposed to be having our gathering in Scotland this year, but it really did force us to rethink things. And so we started doing virtual events. Our Heritage Secretary, Lucas, for instance, he did, a talk where members could go on and ask him questions about DNA. We had a virtual Christmas party. And so we had a whole bunch. We have a lot of talent, a lot of musical talent.
Oh, great.
And so we had people doing readings, Christmas stories. Then there was, all the musical guests that, members that we had. So it was a really great evening. And then we did one for Robbie Burns as well. And we've had a couple other events, like we had, Doug and I are friends with some kilt makers out in Victoria. And they, one of them came on to do a talk on the history of the kilt and how to wear one for any members who are newer to wearing a kilt. And and then we had one actually just recently. One of our young female members had said, we should be able to, have an interview with Joan. And so I was like, okay, great. Sam, let you do it. You are going to be the person for me. So that was fun.
Yeah, well, and like you say, I think everyone has had to learn to adapt, and in some ways, more people may have been able to get involved than they previously could.
Well, exactly, because not everybody can travel to Scotland or Northern Ireland, because we've had gatherings in Northern Ireland as well. Not everybody can afford to go to them. To go overseas. And so this is a way to, even our annual general meetings, except in the gathering year, those are now held virtually, so that we can have more people participating. They can vote online. It's super easy.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And so, as you mentioned, obviously COVID had put a lot of events to rest for the previous year or so, but the gathering you mentioned, you've rescheduled, and I know that that's planned for next year. So can you tell us more about that and what kind of typically goes on in a clan gathering?
Well, typically at the end, I need like a week of rest after.
Another holiday.
They're a lot of fun. We're really excited because this year, or next year, I should say, it's going to be in Stornoway on the Isle of Lewis. They've only held a gathering on Lewis one previous time. I think that was 2006. I could be wrong on the date, but so we're really excited about it. And a lot of people are very excited to be going. So it runs Thursday through Saturday night. And Thursday night, we're hoping, cross our fingers, that we can get some tastings. on Thursday afternoon. So showcase some of the local talent when it comes to distilling. So Avengeric for their whiskey, Olive Harris for their gin, is it Loomshed for their craft beer. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that we'll be able to. And then Thursday night is just sort of a relaxed evening where people have the opportunity to get to know each other. We have a meal, obviously, and then have like an icebreaker, so people start to get to know each other for the people who are new to attending. Mm-hmm. And then I think we're actually going to have a jam session because, as I said, we have a lot of musical talent.
Oh,
and one of our members, Barry from Northern Ireland, he's just a phenomenal musician, as is Don McKenzie, another one of our members. So we do have a lot of talent. Then Friday during the day is going to be a tour around Lewis to some of the hot spots of MacAulay history. We're going to go to places like Clachan-Trushall, where there was the purported last battle between the MacAulays and the Morrisons, and that apparently the MacAulay raised this stone after the battle, which is total malarkey because, the stone's been there for 1,000 years. And places like Duncarloway, where, the Morrisons had rustled some cattle from the MacAulays down in Uig and drove them back up north. And the MacAulays surrounded them at Duncarloway. And it didn't end well for the Morrisons. I won't go into details. Of course, a trip to Lewis wouldn't be a trip to Lewis without going to Callanish. And, lots of other places that we're telling people to go to before or after. And then we're actually going to go right into the heart of MacAulay territory to go visit the Uig Museum and Community Centre. And we're going to have lunch there. And people will have a chance to walk to the Uig Sands and see the site of, well, not specifically the site, but, the sands where the famous Lewis chessmen were located. It's funny with the Lewis chessmen, people say, what are they? I'm like, okay, have you ever seen Harry Potter? When they're playing wizard's chess? Those are the Uig chessmen. Anyway, and then that night we have our formal event. And then on the Saturday, we have, of course, our annual general meeting. We have what we call, and this is Bud MacAulay Lush's, this was his brainwave, the MacAulay Heavy-ish Games. And they are quite a hoot, a hammer throw, which is not a hammer, and haggis hurling. Again, it's not a haggis. We wouldn't want to hurt any of your haggis. It's a lot of fun. And then we'll have a genealogy session that afternoon, and that night is the Saturday night is a Ceilidh. So it's a full weekend, but it's a lot of fun.
I was going to say you've got a lot packed in there. So
we do, but we try to give some time for people to get out and see around, and we encourage people to come early, stay late, and go and see some of the things that we're not able to squeeze in on the touring day.
Oh, amazing. And how often are the international gatherings then?
They're every 2 years, well, except for... Except for, the whole COVID thing kind of threw a loop into everything. But normally they're every 2 years.
Oh, brilliant. And so what would you say the most rewarding aspect of working with the clan and society is then?
It's the people. There's just no doubt about it. It is the people. They are, as I've said, they're very talented. They're very committed. It's just a joy to work with these people because they have so many creative ideas, and they want people to be able to enjoy being a part of Clan MacAulay. So that's very important.
Yeah, bringing everyone together is a lovely thing.
Bringing our people together.
That sounds great. And so, as well as your own clan gathering, I know that the clan is represented at lots of different Highland games across North America and probably even wider. So are there any events in particular that you love attending or you're missing at the moment?
Really, really missed going to the Victoria Highland Games. They're doing a smaller version on Labor Day weekend. But yeah, we have really missed. We've really built a really great group of friends out there, and you get to know the other clans, and they have so many fun events. Like the parade the weekend before the games, and the pub crawl is, what can you say? It's a pub crawl.
Well, exactly, yeah. We're well used to
It's a
those.
lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Well, like I say, hopefully it's not too much longer until we can start to get back to some of these events.
Yep, I'm really hoping that that next May will be on Victoria Day weekend. We'll be back in British Columbia, and I actually already have our place booked. So, yeah, we're planning to be there.
Yeah, well, we were hoping to come and join you last year. Obviously, that didn't happen, but we'll try again for next year. So, fingers crossed.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And so when you come to Scotland then, obviously you take part in the clan gatherings, but out with those, are there any places or particular types of food that you are always on your list of places you have to go?
Lewis obviously is always on the list. Actually, probably the first two places on the list are the Green Welly, because they have a lovely whiskey shop. Even if we don't buy anything, we always just go in there to see, what's new, what they're promoting. And then we generally always try to stop at the Clackig Inn for lunch, because I love their chili. Those are some of the places, but we always try to go to the Isle of Lewis and spend time. When we were there in 2019, we actually did island hopping for the last part of our trip. So we were on Lewis, and then we went down to the US and then Barra, and then back to the mainland. And that was just phenomenal. We just loved it. But we love pretty much every part of Scotland. We've, traveled up the East Coast, because actually my closest relatives are actually on my mom's side. So when we go to the East Coast, we always want to see them, of course. We've been up around the north. We did part of the North 500 last time we were there. We've been to the Orkneys, but we love the Highlands and Islands. That's definitely where our heart is.
Well, you're clan land, so it's got to be close to your heart.
Yeah.
And so likewise, if anyone's ever coming out to Canada to visit, then where would you recommend?
Oh, the whole country, but take 6 months. I became friends with a photographer, Gordon Murray, and he and his partner were thinking about doing a trip to Canada, and I think I overwhelmed them because they were planning to do different parts of Canada. I'm like, yeah, you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Every part of Canada has its own interest and its own beauty. Like you can't go wrong with the Maritimes, and like all of Atlantic Canada. Newfoundland, Labrador is spectacularly beautiful. All of the Maritimes. We have a special, place in our heart for New Brunswick because my husband's family is from there.
Okay.
But yeah, no, pretty much any part. Love Quebec City. There's beautiful parts of Ontario, and just right across the country, there's beauty. But if I'm recommending to people to, do sort of a tour, I encourage them to focus on one location, and then I can give them ideas based on that. So if they're wanting to go to Alberta and British Columbia, what to do, where to go, what order to see it in, and those sorts of things.
Oh, sounds like you're a great planner for these kinds of trips.
I love planning trips.
There you go. Oh, well, you're in the right position as chief then to organise the gatherings.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it. And so, obviously, I have to ask you, do you have a favourite of the Macaulay tartans, Joan?
I'm not supposed to have a favorite as chief, but because because my family's from Lewis, we would wear the Macaulay of Lewis tartan. Unfortunately, it's super expensive to get anything made out of it because it's hard to find. I tend to wear the Macaulay Modern Hunting because it's extremely similar to the Macaulay of Lewis. So that's mainly what I have. My husband's kilt is in the Macaulay Hunting Modern and that. So yeah, but so anyway, it's but I'm planning to get some trews made for out of the regular Macaulay. We'll see if I can get those done. Get those made.
That's good. Oh, well, we'll be happy to help you with that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And so also I should ask, for anyone who wants to get involved in the society, how can they do that?
Oh, it's very, very easy. They just have to go to Clan MacAulay, macaulay.org.uk. And the website is, set up. We're actually going to be making a few changes to the website. We're going to have a members only section, but right at the top, it's membership. So if people are interested, they can also, there's a contact us page. We've often had people just contacting us wanting some help in where do they go for if they have a Macaulay in their back, where do they go to find information about DNA, or where do they, try to find some genealogical information. So we do have a genealogy coordinator, as well as our heritage secretary, who's also our main DNA guy. So yeah, so it's, we get a lot of questions about, can we even join? My name's not Macaulay. Can we join? And we're pretty wide open in our membership. We have, if there is a Macaulay in your background, you're welcome to join, or if you have an interest. We actually have we have our own pipe band. Their official name is Scorsese, but we call them the Macaulay Pipe Band because half of us can't say Scorsese. They are from Italy, and so we have our very own Italian bagpipe band. And they are brilliant, and they were at the last gathering, and we had so much fun with them, and they're really good.
Oh, so how did the pipe band first get involved with the society?
It's a bit of a long, convoluted story. Luca became friends with Peter. He came to Scotland, decided he wanted to learn to play the bagpipes, went back to Italy, found that there was a pipe band in his area. So that's how, but it was through the family connection, through one of our members who unfortunately has passed, Katrina. She made sure he got involved. So
sounds great. Well, we always love to hear, like you say, these worldwide connections that you might not think of an Italian pipe band, but why not get involved? So.
Yeah, it's amazing the connections you can make. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us, Joan. It's been great to catch up virtually. And like I say, hopefully it won't be too much longer until it's in person. And we'll bring Ted back with us as well, so you can see him again.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you in Victoria and taking Ted around to visit all the tents and that. And we just can't wait to get back to Scotland. We're really looking forward to it. So looking forward to 2022.
Exactly. Okay, well, that's great. Thank you so much, Joan.
Okay, thank you.